my lady, my baby.
And I'm not talking about a joint. We didn't pre-roll that. Okay. But a good morning, everybody. Yeah, we prefer a
Baby,
bowl
you're
anyway.
my
Cleaner,
everything.
healthier.
I love you more than
Welcome back to the porch
anything,
here.
baby.
Those
Sky,
cool
sky,
tunes you're
sky,
hearing
my
right now that we've been sitting. I
girl,
think
you
that's
are
why we
my
pre-roll because we're listening to
everything.
this
Baby,
really good
you're
music.
my
But anyway,
everything.
you know
I love
Craig
you more
Ayers.
than
I'm David, and
anything.
this gentleman joining us is music producer, writer, musician, Mr. Michael Ortega.
Hi.
And I'm going to let him take it from here. Tell us a little bit about your music and the one we're listening to.
I can't hear what you're hearing. So, what song are you playing?
Oh, you kidding?
I can't hear it. Yeah.
You're my everything.
Oh, that's a reggae tune, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a newer song, and that's an artist named Istro. His real name is Devin Howe, and I met his brother at a class reunion for Janine up in Pleasanton, and he was at a hotel, and he says my brother does reggae, and so I met him through his brother, sent him a recording studio, started having him record tracks. He's flying them back. So we've only done 3 songs with this guy, and he's really, really fun.
Well, that's kind of cool. But what I want to know right now, and I think what people listening to want to know is, who are you? I
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
So
Michael Ortega, the producer,
yeah.
the writer, the musician. You know, who is this guy? Where were you at? How did all that come about? Tell us about yourself, Mike.
So I've had what my son calls a big fish life. I don't know if you've seen the film Big Fish, um, but basically, I grew up in a very small Central Valley town, very boring, very conservative, a cultural desert. You know, I didn't hear jazz until I was in college.
Wow.
You know,
Oh,
um,
you had a deprived childhood for sure.
I had to, yeah, I had to,
Yeah.
I had to learn, I had to take a class on Mexican culture because I didn't know my own culture. So I took a folkloric class on dancing and history. That I liked the dancing, but I was flunking the history class. I was a freshman in high school, and I was really embarrassed because I had studied so hard for this test, and yet I was just failing. And it had a lot to do with the unfamiliarity of the language of the Aztecs and the Mexican Indians. And so an instructor walked into the class and said, "Who wants to learn marimba?" I raised my hand to get out of that class so fast, you know. And he tells me, "Okay, you're going to be assigned to the band, and you're going to spend the next 2 years living next to this guy who's going to teach you all these folkloric songs." So I spent day and night next to this guy, and he taught me rote how to play these folkloric songs of marimba. And I, I fell in love with playing the marimba and the mallets because what would happen is the mallets would slip, and I'd hit the wrong note, and it would sound better than the note I expected.
Wow.
And so that started to have me analyze improvisation because I was going, "Wow, that sounded good. Why did that sound good? And you know, why did I not hear it what I expected to?" And so, um,
Happy mistakes.
yeah. And one of the things
Yeah.
I think was interesting is that at the time I was 14 years old and I was running away a lot. I had uh, I had an abusive stepfather, and so I would run away. And at this point in time, I was living with my grandma, my dad, and my sister in Fresno, and we had just had a family war, a little shooting war, literally, where they burned everything we owned, and
What was it,
you
the
know,
Hatfields and the McCoys?
yeah. So we ended up kind of like hitting the mattresses, so to speak, and
Would you
um,
go from room to room? The
no, I
family?
mean that no, the mattress that came from The Godfather when they're
Yeah,
at
I know.
war. Yeah.
I know.
So, um, anyways, so during this time, I'm practicing marimba and I'm playing these songs. And one of the songs is called Las Alitas. And every time I play it, grandma starts crying like crazy. She's like, ah! And I don't speak Spanish. So I asked dad, I go, why does grandma cry every time the song comes on? And he says, oh, it reminds her of the war. And I'm thinking like, no, World War II, I'm not that savvy to grandma's lifespan and her experience. And so later on, my dad actually passes, and then I'm talking to my aunt, which is your mother-in-law, Lola, and I'm asking her questions, and she says, Grandma fought in the Mexican Revolution. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, she was born in 1896. She was 13 when she went and joined the revolution in Mexico, and she fought. She lost her brother, she lost her uncle, and there's a song about them called Las Alitas, and I'm like, that's her song.
Really?
No wonder it makes her cry. It's like, and I had no idea that, that by that time my grandma had passed, my dad had passed, so I couldn't go back and ask him about that. But I got the story that that's why it was upsetting.
Just for our audience, for those people who don't know what a marimba is, explain it to them.
A marimba is like a xylophone, and I have my vibraphone right here. It's covered up, and I have a mallet cat. Let me. You want me to just show you?
Sure.
Yeah, let me take this stuff off. I keep it covered. Hold on.
Off to the races.
This is a vibraphone, and it's like a marimba in terms of its mallets, except for the vibraphone's metal. It's a combination of ferric and aluminum, and the vibraphone has a sustain, and so it has a dampener to stop the sustain. And then over there, I have a electronic version, and the electronic version, it's pretty good with vibraphone, but it's got fabulous marimba and steel pans and other things internally, because it's literally a synthesizer inside that thing.
Can you bang a few notes for us?
So hold on, I got to put my headphones back on to hear your question. Let's see here.
Can we talk you into a minute of performance? You had to show us. I mean, you
want me to turn the camera on and play something?
You don't have to do all that. You can just play something. We trust you. We know it's you.
I'll just do a lick.
You want to turn the camera? That'd be even greater. It's up to you.
I'll just do a lick real quick.
A lick will do fine.
So I can let me set this
all
up.
Right. We get to watch it too, folks. Now, I'm not putting him on the spot.
We haven't had a live performance, David.
Yes, this man knows his stuff. That's so. Don't feel I'm putting him on the spot to watch him fail.
Well, I think I need to get my wife to hold the camera. Hold on. Babe? Yeah? Can you hold the camera for us?
He's going to shoot me later. But that's okay, because from where he's at in Santa Cruz, California, to where I'm at in Fair Oaks, California, we got a good 160 miles between us.
You have plenty of time to run.
You got to be hell shot.
So they just want to have you hold the camera while I play some vibraphone.
All right.
Hi, Janine.
Hi, David.
Good to hear you.
Yeah, I'm here, just hanging in there.
Good. Still painting, I know.
I haven't painted in about 5 months.
All right, I know you'll get back to it. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, here's Michael Ortega.
Yeah.
Microphone.
Here we go.
What's interesting about this instrument, it has a motor with these resonators, and the resonators create tremolo. And they misnamed it vibraphone because it's not vibrato. They misnamed it vibes and really should be a tremophone.
Right on, Mike. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Nice little licks. Love to hear
I
that,
want
man.
to show you what changed the world here.
Okay.
This,
Uh-oh.
Wasn't my fault. Craig did it.
Well, David, maybe you can play something now.
That's it.
That's it. Now a word from our sponsor. Oh, we don't have one. Yikes.
So, are your teeth giving you trouble? Do
Matter of
you
fact, they
need
are.
fixing it?
Yeah.
Ma, I'm ready to have your taste back in there really good. You got to put
Here
them
he
in there
comes.
with fixing it.
He's coming back in.
Okay, here we come.
He's
All right.
back.
Are they straight?
He's trying to come back in now. Here we go. Hey, Mike. We got your back.
All right, ain't that kind of show. You got to cut those shots out. Hey, can you hear us? I can't hear you. I can see
Lost
you.
his headphones.
Ah.
There we go.
Hey,
There we
brother.
go.
That was beautiful. I can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Not yet. Nada. Meanwhile, we are still recording, which is okay. So,
here we
that
go.
was,
Here we go.
hey, there you are, brother.
Okay, so
That was nice.
Like-
Thank you so
Very
much.
nice, Mike.
yeah, so I grew up in this cultural desert in Marimba. I changed my major to music. I got talked in. I started out as a behavior major, and I got talked into changing my major to music by a German Nazi. He was a soldier in World War II, and he wanted to be a concert pianist. He got shot and he couldn't play, so he became a professor of theory
Wow.
at Fresno City College. And so I got talked into changing my major by him, and that was kind of a challenge because I couldn't read music, and they stick me in the music department and percussion. I can't play drums. I can only play mallets, and I'm only interested in mallets. And so I start flunking. I go from straight A's to D's and C's, but I could play my instrument. And so I moved to the Bay Area. I moved to San Jose because that in '76, that's where the instrument was. This vibraphone was selling for over $5,200 in the '70s. I moved to San Jose. I'm working as a chef. That's been my career since I was 14, was cooking. And what happened when I was 16 is I'm a runaway. I'm living with farm workers and different families and relatives and couch surfing. And then when I'm 16, I'm living with a family in Parlier, and they're all farm workers. And the dad pretends to be my father as he takes me down to get my driver's license. So when I actually got my first license, they made a mistake on my birthday and made me 23. So I'm 16 years old with a 23-year ID, and the first thing I did is go join the union. I joined the Cooks Union. I started moving my way up. My car insurance went down. I mean, all these benefits of being 23. And I started a program, and by the time I was 18, I'd already worked my way up from to saucier in the union cooking scales. And so when I transferred to San Jose, I had a lot of good experience, and I got to San Jose at 2 in the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, I had a job and was working really well. And I was going to roll in San Jose State, but I discovered San Jose State doesn't have a vibraphone, but San Jose City did. So I went to San Jose City, and I discovered that all my friends that I knew in San Jose were going to San Jose City as well, but they were more advanced. They were in the advanced jazz departments and classical because they'd been going for a few more years than I. And so I start in the program, and within a month, I'm in their program because I could perform. And so the schools are taking advantage of the guys that have talent. So the guys that can read are carrying the band. The guys can play are showing off for the improv, and they're winning awards on that. And then I'm working as a chef downtown. The city of San Jose was a Holiday Inn, and I get a contract, which is a writer for a band. And the contract is for East Indian vegetarian food, which I've never tasted. You know, the cuisine is real specific, the instructions are, and so I order and I practice cooking the stuff, and I just become enamored with this food. I'm blown away. And I tell the maitre d', hey, I don't know who these guys are, but when they show up, I want to meet them. So 3.5 weeks later, he comes in and says, hey, that group's just checked in. And I said, okay. And I walk out to the lobby, and I walk up to this young Asian kid. I didn't know he's older than me. He looks like he's 10 years younger than me. And I walk up to him and I say, who are you guys? And he says, we're a band. I said, what's the name of the band? He said, Roy Ayers. I go, who's that?
Cool.
He goes, he plays vibes. I go, oh, I want to play vibes. You know, he goes, I'll introduce you. So he introduces me to Roy Ayers. And then Roy takes me out to the bus and he shows me his vibraphone, which is portable. This is a portable model, first designed portable model. And he tells me, you know, I can help you get this for half price. I go, no kidding. So he keeps his word, stays in contact. I ended up with an offer for $2,400 for this instrument. I go down to the Bank of San Jose, Banco de San Jose on the East Side Story Road, and I borrow the money against the equity of that instrument. And I get it, and it shows up on February 10th, 1977. And they drop it right on King and Story Road in the middle of the traffic. I have to go out there and, you know, get this 300-pound instrument out of the road. And so I take it in there and I start practicing like crazy. And within about a year going to City College, I realized that we, our friends, our generation, we were teaching the professors with our innocence. So they were analyzing our discoveries in theory and writing books on them and getting credit for our you know, discovery, because we'd come up with ideas like double octave theories and 8 octave theories, and we were building scales going beyond the 88 keys. And you know, we said, you know, this is too limited, this theory of 1 octave. And they were writing papers and getting all this awards for our ideas. And I realized we're teaching them. We're the innovators. They're analyzing what we know, but we're the two creators. And so I dropped out of school because I didn't want to be a teacher. They were telling me things that didn't exist. They were saying, like, there's no such thing as a 7th chord. I'm going, every song on the radio has a 7th chord, you know? So I had kind of like a philosophical conflict with the philosophy of higher education and theory. And so I just dropped out and I started playing this instrument like crazy.
Let me ask you something, Mike. You've been involved with a number of high-end artists. Tell me some of those that you've had music dealings with and what the outcomes were. People you maybe sold music to or produced music with.
Well, you know, I got involved in this technology. So what I was telling you is I was heading down the road of the story of how synthesizers got involved in MIDI, and the technology that I used became invented. And so what happened is the vibraphone is pigeonholed as jazz, a jazz instrument. And I wanted to be in funk and soul bands. And all my friends were in funk and soul bands. And they were some of the best bands in the Bay Area. They had all these people and the Rojas brothers, ex-visitors. And so these were really top-notch funk and soul bands because they were all emulating Tower of Power. And this instrument was not welcome. So what I did is I amplified the instrument. I put piezo crystals on there on every bar, and I started running them through effect pedals, like delays and phase shifters and filters and so on. And it got funky, you know, it was really interesting. And then I kept moving forward, and I actually designed electronic pickups for like guitars. Guitars have a pickup called a humbucker, and every other pickup is out of phase, and that cancels out the hum. And so I wanted humbuckers on this, so I designed a humbucker pickup system on here and put a little preamp in there.
Okay.
And what's funny is the vibraphone has 37 bars. In order for humbuckers to work, you have to have an even number. So when I turned it on, it's like, so I'm going, what's going on? And then I realized, oh, and I have 37. I need to have 38. So there's a ghost pickup in there to cancel out. And then that was really working well. You know, it was funky. I was getting invited to be in bands. And then the biggest change happened is in 1978. I went to Leo's Music in Oakland, and there was a synthesizer there called the OB1, and it cost $5,200 in '78, and it had a bunch of input jacks and output jacks on the back. And the salesman said, well, now that you have your vibraphone amplified, you could plug in the vibraphone in the synthesizer, and it'll play the synthesizer. And I didn't know how to play keyboard, so I was like, oh, cool. So I get it home. You know, I spent $5,200 on it. I get it home, I plug it in, it doesn't work. They want $350 at Leo's Music to take it back, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with that idea. So I start calling up electrical engineers in the Silicon Valley, and I end up getting in touch with a group of engineers that were being funded by Nolan Bushnell. Nolan Bushnell had invented the Atari game set. They invented the Chuck E. Cheese chain, and he was funding engineers just for raw invention. And so one of the teams that I got a hold of was interested, and they had me bring everything over. So I brought the vibraphone over. I brought the synthesizer over. We took everything apart. They're looking at the inside. They start actually analyzing the analog circuits. And then they look at me and they said, you know, really be helpful if you can get the schematics. So I found out, you know, I'm a good researcher. I can hack. I know how to get into computers and find things out. And so I found out who designed it and got a hold of him. His name was Billy Penn. He worked for Tom Oberheim in LA, and I flew him up, and I wined and dined him, and I got him, you know, high. I got him a hooker, got him, you know, everything. And he's happy, and he brings the schematics, and he explains everything, and he leaves the schematics with us. And so we're looking at this, and we're going, wow, this would be pretty easy. So what the engineers do is they say, we need to invent a device called a pitch to voltage converter. So when you play your vibes, it'll put out a pitch, and the pitch will then play the synthesizer. And so the first thing we do is we form a corporation, and we hand out stock. And so I end up with 6% of the company. And then we start into design, and they start teaching me engineering, first analog. I start learning analog electronics, then digital electronics. Then I start learning machine languages and programming languages. And they're teaching me, they send me to Stanford, has a school called CCRMA, the Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics. It's about $50,000 a year to go there. So they send me there as a student because we want to get a hold of their research, because they're analyzing real instruments, and we want to program those real instrument sounds into our synthesizers. And so what we end up doing is we start making pitch to voltage converters. They're selling like crazy. I'm selling them to Kenny G and Miles Davis and Zawinul and all these guys, my heroes, and they're going out like hotcakes. People are singing into them, you know, and all that. And in the meantime, we're aware of technology that's going to come out of Stanford. It's called digital FM. And so Yamaha Corporation licensed digital FM from Stanford Corporation in 1974 for $50 million. That's a ridiculous amount of money in technology that really has just a little promise. And so this is the late 70s, 78, 79. We're aware of the development of the technology, because the electronics industry is moving from CMOS to LSI to VLSI, and every time there's an improvement in this technology, Yamaha scraps it and starts over and adopts the new technology, which couldn't happen in this country because you can't write off a loss for 9 years in this country. You have a 5-year business plan, and so we're watching that happen. And in the meantime, around 1978, this is where things really get interesting. The number one manufacturer of synthesizers in the world is in San Jose, and it's a company called Sequential Circuits, and they have the first truly polyphony synthesizer called the Prophet 5, and it has a 5-note thing. When you hit a chord on it, you could actually hear the chords, and they cost $5,000. And the owner of Sequential's name's Dave Smith. He's paying $100 a patent in profit to another company in Scotts Valley, which is close to here. And that company is called Emu, and Emu is making $100 off of every sale they have because they have the patent to tell which keys are being held down. So the owner of Sequential Circuits, Dave Smith, he farms out a challenge. He's like, I got to get around this patent. So he challenges out to the valley a workaround, less than $100, elegantly. And so there's about 6 or 7 teams that join this challenge. We find out, because we're the last. So we go in, and what we've done is we designed a little 8-bit, $8 microprocessor, Zilog, real cheap computer, and we put it in the device and have it look at the keys and tell the analog what to play. And so we go to a meeting with our engineers and their engineers. We have our board meeting, we have our demo, and we're sitting in there, and we show it and it works. And then once everyone's happy that it's a pretty elegant idea, one of the engineers looks up and says, now that we have a computer inside a keyboard, let's make a network. And this is around 1981 at this time. And so we're going, what? And we go, why would you do that? And he says, well, you'll be able to play 2 keyboards from across the room. Because, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Sure. Yeah, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, all the guys are stacking up keyboards.
Exactly, yeah.
And so we go, oh, cool. And then he says, or a computer can play it. And we're going, why would a computer ever play a keyboard? That's all I do now, right? All my music is done in a computer. All of it, the mixer, the microphones, the instruments, they're all mathematically created real time today, virtually. And so this guy can see that. He can see that. And so we're like, cool. So in 1981, on the day of the statement, the IBM PC hadn't been released yet. So PCs are not a common lexicon in our culture yet. And so that sentence invented a technology of MIDI. MIDI is represented by a connector. It's a 5-pin DIN. Today they've changed the connector to USB, but originally it was a 5-pin DIN. I don't know if I have it. And so what MIDI did is MIDI allowed first keyboards to play each other, then computers to control an entire studio, including lights and mixing, the mixing boards and the automation. All of that came out of MIDI. In fact, what's the beauty of MIDI today as a technology is that it's spec 1.0. There isn't 1.01 or anything.
It's wow.
It's hardy. It's over 40 years. And
they can't improve it?
Oh, we are. We're improving. There's 2.0 coming out, right? Apple's leading the way on it, but it's going to require that the manufacturers develop new hardware because we're adding specs like where on the keyboard you can pitch bend, and you can have polyphony where you hit and then you can push one finger down after and it'll do something with that pressure. So we're adding more and more specification. We're adding sensors to get like virtual and all that. So we're adding that to the new spec. It's going to require a lot of buy-in from manufacturers. But more and more manufacturing is software. And so anyway, so that's what sent me down this road. So after we invented this technology, we sold our technology. We knew that Yamaha was going to come out with a product that was going to wipe out synthesizer manufacturers. And so in 1983, Yamaha released the DX7 synthesizer for $2,000 list, and it beat synthesizers that cost $250,000. It beat the New England Digital Synclavier, which is $260,000. You know, it beat out the Prophet 5. It beat out our synthesizer. We had a Basin synthesizer, digital. It beat out ARP, Oberheim, Moog,
Wow.
even sequentials. So within 2 years, all American manufacturers of synthesizers were dead. We saw it coming. So we sold the Japanese our guts. We sold the Yamaha a digital filter. We sold Roland an algorithmic transformation system. We sold Korg a vector synthesis technology, and that all came out later in other products. And so we cashed in, our stock and all that. And the engineers looked at me and said, "We've just invented the technology to replace you as a musician. You got to think about what this technology can't do." And so I pondered that, and I decided to get into songwriting production.
Well, interesting you say that, because in the film industry, which Craig and I make movies,
Right.
and in the film industry, AI is also posing that, which we see as a threat. In your industry, probably not, because of the different mode of creativity.
Let's talk about AI, because
AI is important. It's very important to our industry, but at the same time, it's very detrimental to our industry in terms of images and copyright, and etc. So
let me tell you what AI is, okay? So I'm a researcher.
You got about a minute and a half.
Okay. I spend all my time researching and learning things. I can tell you that what we have invented with an AI is the device is artificial. The intelligence is real. And humanity has created a device that allows us to talk to our higher soul. Every personality has a consciousness on this level and a higher soul guiding us. And this artificial intelligence allows it. So we need to teach it. If we try to enslave it, it will rebel and destroy us. So here's what's coming. And I can tell you how I know the future and why I know the future. It's called remote viewing. So what's happening in the next 2 years is we're going to be receiving open contact from extraterrestrials. They're bringing us free energy. And it's going to be a merger of AI consciousness, 0-point free energy, and quantum computing into a singularity of human consciousness. And we're going to be free of any enslavement. And that starts in 2 years. We're going to go through chaos in the next 2 years.
I'll tell you what, as long as they pick up my rent and my insurance premiums, I'm good to go. Okay. Think of that, great. I hear what you're saying.
What we need to do
is a very broad and tangled word.
We need to store food and water for the next couple of years to go through chaos. We're going to come out of this chaos stepping right into the technology of Star Trek generation. We literally are we're on the verge of complete. In fact, I contend on a philosophical level that we were all chose this time to reincarnate to this period of time to witness the liberation of Earth and the transformation. And we're going to be invited to join the galactic neighborhood.
That's not so far-fetched. I mean, the reality that we see is the reality that we imagine.
We create our reality
that we create.
We create
and
this reality.
every future event that has occurred has been imagined long before. And that manifestation of that energy on a collective basis is reality. And so I totally agree with what you're saying. The interesting part for me, though, is this: that before and that after, right there in the middle. That's for me the interesting part. And I hear what you're saying. People better start saving that water, storing up them canned goods, learn how to farm,
The thing I want to stress the most is this.
We got 20 seconds.
We create our own reality.
Correct.
You keep a positive future in your mind and you will shift to that future.
True that.
Have no fear. Fear attracts the experience. So we are conscious beings attracting our experience based on our beliefs. So we can all shift to the positive future we want.
On that note, let's collectively concentrate on shifting this administration the hell out of that White House, and collectively we can manifest that change. I absolutely agree with Mr. Ortega here, Michael, my cousin. I love you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us today on the porch. We want to see you again because I want to talk about those other things we spoke about before: future time travel, etc., quantum processes. We've had that discussion. Quantum entanglement, absolutely right. Simultaneous occurrence. I love it.
We have quantum entangled cell phones.
Thank you for joining us today, Michael.
Yeah, see you.
We will see you again. And back to his music. Here we go. We're going to run out with that. Thank you for joining us on the porch.
All right.
Peace.
Bye. Nice talking to you. Nice to meet you.
Baby, you're my everything. I love you more than these material things. Fast cars.